Welcome everyone to another podcast of Adeel Pirzada podcast. Today, actually, we don't have any guests. Usually, it's our special podcast, and we always have guests, at least for the last 4 or 5 ones. But today, actually, we had a guest, and then there was some schedule arrangement that needed to be done, so we don't have a guest anymore. But as usual, I do have a wonderful person right beside me. Mr. Kevin Padillo. How are you doing, Kevin?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Glad to be here. My name's Kevin with Pircon Group. Happy to be here and hungry, ready to wrap up the night with some fireworks in this podcast.
Awesome. Yeah. It's going to be a very quick podcast. We're going to discuss, just get into the surface of some of the things that Kevin wanted to discuss. Go for it, Kevin. Sure. What are we discussing today?
Awesome. So before we get started here, there's so many things we want to cover. Today's topic is how to build a restaurant. Quick 20-minute discussion on how to build a restaurant, very broken down for all you very fast-moving restaurant business owners. You have dishes and food and all these things flying around. We want to give you a quick, valuable podcast today. Sponsored by the Pircon Group. We are commercial construction experts. We build restaurants and we love doing it as well. So Adeel here has actually...
we build way more than restaurants. We build all types of different commercial and residential ground up buildings as well. So
for sure. So we do all these things, especially in commercial, and we're general contractor experts, and we do design, build, and we do a lot of city permit drawings. So if you need help for your restaurant, for your DP, changing the use, or having a building permit, reach out to us, pircongroup.com. It'll most likely be me reaching out to you. So PIRCON Group, pircongroup.com. Go visit that website and reach out to us and let's do some business.
All right. Okay. Today's discussion about the restaurants, I think we just wanted to discuss about just some quick notes, right? How to build them and how do you kind of get started if you're a restaurant owner? What are the things you should look for when you're selecting a place, as well as what are the procedures? And some of this stuff we might have talked in the past in our previous podcast about some of the key rules that you should follow. But today, we're just gonna focus on the restaurants only, and then we'll pinpoint some of the key items
for sure
when building that. So I don't know, Kevin, if you have some question you want to ask, or should I just go for it?
So today will be a quick rapid question round. Not too much commentary, but I do really want to pack 20 minutes of value for restaurant owners. So tell us the first steps on how to build and open a restaurant.
So the very first step is actually selecting your location, and a lot of due diligence and the work that you need to look for is actually is when you're selecting the place. After you selected a place, then there is a lot of things that we can't go and fix those. Then you have to deal with those things, and then we can discuss that. So this is what I would say: if you are building your very first restaurant, or let's say your multiple locations. If you have multiple locations, then you already know a lot of steps, then you know what to do. But let's say we're talking about someone, brand new and they want to open up. First thing is you want to select the right place, and the place actually matters a lot, because where you select your place could affect your construction cost. Meaning if you are at some high-end place, or if you are with trying to get a place with a landlord that have a lot of requirements, it will affect your overall construction cost, your duration, and the amount of things and amount of money that you have to spend on that construction. So selecting a space, you have to be very careful. And I could almost say that you're going to be fine with going with a lot of strip malls because they are pretty standard. So if you find a single story, standalone or in a
Yeah.
strip unit, that is actually going to be the easiest one to deal with. I can just tell you as a thumb rule, that is going to be the cheapest structure that you can get engaged in to build your restaurant. The thing is, when you go into multiple stories, or let's say you are trying to get a place that's a high-rise building and you're underneath that, you're going to have to deal with a lot of things, especially if you're building a restaurant. You have to worry about different items, like where is the exhaust going to be? And if it's going
Oh,
to,
yeah.
yeah, so that's the biggest thing with about restaurants. You can pretty much build any retail, any commercial, you're fine. It's going to work out pretty well, like an office space, like a retail computer store, like other retail stores, or even some services places like a massage place or a nail salon or a
Yeah.
barber shop. Those places are pretty much going to do fine anywhere. And that's why I'm saying it's so important when you're selecting a place for a restaurant. You have to be very careful because from place to place, your costs could vary. And if you are with one of those developers or one of those landlord that are really, into their property and they have special rules and guidelines and they need certain things done, that could change your cost dramatically. They could ask for things that engineering schedules, engineering stamps, when you're in drawings and permitting. They could ask for elevation drawings. They could ask for 3D rendering. So all that stuff, landlord will want it because they want to know what you're after, what is your concept, and they want all the detail up front. So you could be spending a lot of money in getting those detail. Versus if you were to go with just a standard place, at strip mall, that landlord is already used to a lot of things. It's built for just that purpose, so they're pretty open. Like their guidelines are pretty open, and it's also because like what kind of damage you can propose to them. If something goes wrong in a strip mall, the damages are a lot less in a way, or the people that you can disturb, like the other businesses, the impact that you could make on other things that are damages are a lot less as compared to if you're working, if you got a place in downtown or underneath a high-rise building, or it's a mall location. Anything that more than one story, anything that's in a really high busy traffic area, anything that has actually a lot of expensive structure in it, and a lot of like malls, they spend a lot of money in their interior, so they're more concerned about what is going to be taking place in their vicinity. So they have a lot of requirements. But when you're dealing with standalone strip mall, those are purpose built. Restaurants are easier to build in those, and it's going to be a lot cheaper when you're dealing with it. So that's the number one thing, location. Now, you may have, you may have a very popping brand, and you may want the location right in the city core, and that's the only way you want to do it. Fine. Then I mean, that's where your market is. That's what you want to hit. That's where you think your consumer will purchase your product. Then you would have to go for that location. But remember that there is going to be, when you're going to a landlord that is really busy and their structure, their building, you can tell that it's well maintained and they have spent maybe a lot of money to build that. Just expect that there's going to be a lot of requirements from that landlord. So yeah, that's number one, finding a location. Number two, so once you have found a location, and I would say even almost before you even find a location, but let's say you're in the process or you already found one, you need to get a consultant involved. So a consultant could be a team that is a mixture of architect, different engineers, electrical, mechanical, or
Draftsmen as well.
yeah, exactly. Or you could just have an architectural individual who can help you. So a company or a person who knows about, because it's very important. They need to come and look at it, and there are a lot of things they need to look for, right? When you're discussing a restaurant, they need to see like what are your exits and entry access ways, because that affects a lot for when you're dealing with retail stores. Also, because you have a restaurant, you're definitely going to have a hood, and for hood is the biggest cost for a restaurant, and it is actually the biggest part of the work, and it's the most riskier part of the work as well. So you need a right consultant, a right architect or an engineer by your side, that that can take you through, that you can explain your concept, what you really want done in there, and that can actually look at that location and tell you that, yeah, everything that you want with your concept should work out or it won't work out. So you need that opinion before you go into too much into that deal and start signing stuff. You want to know if this is going to work out. If it's previously was a restaurant and and you're taking over that place, or you're taking over some existing place and it was a restaurant, I mean, you can say, yeah, if it's done once, you can do it too. Like, so yeah, you don't need to look in that much detail. Like, but you never know. Like, they may have a hood for 6 foot, and then your kitchen requires a hood of 20 feet wide, bigger hood. So if you got bigger equipment, it could be an issue. You may have run into some issues that you won't be able to do it. So there are a lot of things to look at. So it's very important that you contact a professional individual or a company who knows this stuff, who are expert in designing and getting permits approval from the city for restaurants, so they can guide you into the right direction by letting you know what are they looking at roughly for this place to convert into a restaurant.
For sure. And like what I'm learning as well, as I'm new to my journey and, new working with this company, I'm learning a lot that some people, they build without having the right land use change or the right, camera's dead.
I think our camera just went out.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, we'll keep going. I think you've seen our pretty faces enough anyway, so we'll just keep going. It's going to be a short one anyway, so we'll just try to wrap it up.
Yeah, so this is like a big shout out to the ones listening on Anchor. So you don't normally see our faces, but yeah, nothing changed. So I just want to keep going about this the land use change. Like, I'm learning that some people, they build without having a DP or development permit. And sometimes our team will have to come in and be like, okay, you'll need a DP here to change the use. For example, let's say it was a body shop before in a bay in the Northeast, and now they want to change it to an office space. And sometimes they don't have a DP. They don't change it. They just start building, and then they could run into some issues. And they come to us, they're like, hey, we need to change some things. Can we get a quote? So that's what Adeel is saying about making sure you have a consultant that can support you and lead you to the right path to get you what you need and to convert the use of your space to the appropriate space for your business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you would have your design team or company that you have. You want to get their opinion on it. Just check with them that everything works. Like, you have this concept where you want to have a kitchen and this type of equipment underneath it. You have fryers and you have other items like ovens. You could, like, grills. There's so much stuff. Like, I can't name every single piece of equipment that goes into a restaurant because they're all different types depending on what kind of food is being cooked. So there's so many different things, like burners, fryers, stovetops, ovens, grills. So you really need to figure out. That's the number one thing. If you don't know what kind of your seating is going to be, what your what do you call it? The seating, the tables layout, the entry exit ways, the chandeliers, the ceiling, the walls. If you don't know any of that, that's fine. If you don't know what that's going to look like, that's fine. The number one, the most important thing for a restaurant is to figure out what goes inside the kitchen. So you need to know what the kitchen is about. And the most important thing inside a kitchen is your hood. So figure out the first thing, what is your hood? How wide is it? Is it 10 feet wide, 20 feet wide? What do you need? And that's based on your equipment underneath. And just the thumb rule, you would go 6 inch shorter on each side. So if your equipment turns out 10 feet, put together,
Wow.
So your hood needs to be 11. If your equipment is, 13 feet, your hood needs to be 14. So you need to leave 6 inches on each side of the hood. So that's something you have to be taken into consideration. But again, if you have the right professional, if you have the right architect, or draftsman or engineer on your side, they'll solve that for you. They'll let you know. All they need to know, what equipment do you have, and they can figure out how big your hood needs to be and how wide and all that stuff. But I just given you a thumb rule, so you can just take that. You take your equipment and add a 1 foot to it. If it's an island hood, so if it's not against the wall, and it's an island hood, it's in the middle of the place, so like let's say middle of the kitchen, then you need 2 feet. So you need to leave 1 foot on each side rather than 6 inches. So you need a 2 foot bigger hood. So that's how it kind of goes, the engineering behind the hood. And obviously there is other factors that you have to put in, and how deep it needs to be, and how high the hood needs to be, and what kind of design the hood needs to be, what kind of filters.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about the standard stuff. And most of the people have pretty standard.
So, Adeel, could you tell us how important is it to hire a general contractor versus just hiring a bunch of individual trades on your own?
Important. Very, very important. I don't know. It's like, I don't know, I get a flat tire and I'm trying to fix it myself, which is a very simple thing. But why would you do that? I mean, when there are other people who can do that and they have the right tools, why would you risk? It's like, sure, if you got a hobby as a construction, don't involve that in your business. Don't. Go build like a deck or something, build your basement. If this is your hobby, unless you're like, hey, I'm the general contractor. I love construction and I want to be something in construction. I want to become a GC, and I'm gonna do my first restaurant. My restaurant as a practice. Sure, go for it. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You're gonna go through a lot of problems, but you'll learn something from it. And if it's easy enough, you'll get it done. If it's hard, if you put if you have the right knowledge, you got the right people, but you're not going to know everything. You're not going to know the industry secrets and the trades secrets. And then, you're not going to have everything. You're not going to have the right questions, basically the right answers for all the questions you're going to be asked from the city, inspections when you're going to go through them with the city, like how those going to turn out. You could miss one thing and it could put you in delays for a very long time. Like we have some horror stories. Some of these owners try to do it themselves, and then it just doesn't turn out, and a 3-month project turns into an entire year and a half, and it happens all the time. Just because they're trying to save maybe 20-30 grand, by trying to do this stuff themselves, but now they spend 100 grand just in leasing. So it happens all the time. So be very mindful. Don't hire the people that do the work. It's going to be the cheapest way for you. I guarantee you.
Yeah, save yourself the headache, everyone. Hire a GC. It doesn't have to be us. Ideally, we'd want it for you to be us, but hire a qualified GC, general contractor. If you could find them, commercial general contractors online, and find people that are qualified, that have the license, that have the WCB, that have the track record, that have the experience, and that have a strong project management team to do that for you. And ideally, someone who also has a design firm. What Adeel was saying earlier about the permits, have someone that could do that. So everything could be all together and they could do the design build for you. And if you're a restaurant owner, most likely if you own a franchise, you already have some concept drawings that the franchisor gives you, such as Subway, Mia Pasta, McDonald's. They already have some layouts already pre-created for you. So that would help a lot. but you do need someone still to do permits and mechanical and electrical drawings, which is what we could do. So those are some thoughts there. And I know we're coming around 20 minutes, Adeel.
There's a couple of things.
What do you want to say here?
Yeah, I actually wanted to I just wanted to make a quick short video. But I do want to discuss, there are a few key points, and we can go in detail and do an entire podcast just for restaurants.
Yeah.
But today was supposed to be a short video. Just
check out the commercial how to build a retail area restaurant episode. Is one of our first episodes. You can see more there.
And we also have a blog on our website about how to build restaurants, and then restaurants ventilation, because that's the biggest part. So we also have a blog on our website. Check that out. It's all about ventilation and hood system and HVAC system that's required for the restaurants. So
written by me.
Yeah. So with the help of Adeel, maybe not. So here's the very important thing, and it's just not for the restaurant owners. It's just basically all the commercial owners. They'll find the place first, and then they'll start getting quotes for construction. You're missing a big step. Where's your drawing? You need a consultant to do your drawings. If you are trying to get a contractor, we don't recommend it. It's not that we don't do it. We do a lot of design and build projects. So that means we're designing and doing a construction for the same client. It happens all the time. So you do need a GC like that. But if you don't, and you're getting quotes from a lot of GCs, and that's what your plan is, then do get a consultant involved. You need a consultant to be involved from day one who can start doing the drafting and floor plans for you, because you need those drawings in order to get a right construction code. If you just give them random stuff and you get 5 GCs involved, or even 2, you are not comparing apples to apple. The construction bids, the confusion is going to be up the roof. Their bidding won't match. You know why? Because they have different information. You didn't share the same piece of information among all the different GCs. So you told one guy what you want in the washroom, but you already forgot with the second guy. And let's say you didn't remember, but there's some details that is not there, you're missing. That is a big issue. So don't do that. Get a consultant involved from day one, and get a floor plan. And then and get some sort of drawings. I mean, if you don't even have a full BP drawing that is going to the city, that's what you technically should have if you want to bid from a GC. But let's say you don't, at least have some sort of drawings that are completed by a professional that you can spread it around the GC. Now, all the GC are looking same information. They have the same square footage, same layout, same outline, same equipment, same finishing as well, that you can tell them that you can make part of the drawings. Now they're all looking at same stuff, so they can bid it. Now you'll get a competitive bid, so you can compare apples to apple. Otherwise, you're just saying, "Oh, he said, she said," and a lot of people I see do that, and I'm surprised that a lot of GCs and even us sometimes get involved in that funnel, and just sure, we can give you, and you can figure out estimated construction costs, but in order to know your exact numbers, you do need a design. We don't even when we do design and build, unless we've done tons of those and they're pretty similar, we'll have an exact number for our client. But most of the time, we won't even have an exact number. We will need to do the drawings first. Once we do the drawings, then we can take it back to our estimator that estimate construction stuff, so they can look at it, and then they can put a bid together for construction. And that's the way it should be. You need a solid plan in your hand before approaching a GC and asking them for construction bids. It's wasting your time and there, because this is what's going to happen. Let's say you even have a GC involved and they're giving you a price. Then you get a consultant involved. If that GC is not a design build GC, or let's say they were, but either way, you got to get a designer involved. As soon as you get a designer involved, now they start picking things apart. So they're looking at it, okay, floor plan, sure, that doesn't change, but now a lot of things could change. Your plumbing, hot water tank, amount of washrooms that you need. Now, you thought you needed 2 washrooms, but guess what? When the architect comes in and says, well, you're certain square footage, or you want a certain number of people, or whatever the other scenarios are with the city, and you need 3 washrooms now. So, and then by the time those drawings are done, you may have a completely different concept than you already had discussed with the GC. So now that GC has to go back, look at your actual drawings and start rebidding or start adding things to it. It just makes it more confusing for everybody. So I highly recommend once find the right place, and I told you what to look for the right place. Unless you're set on a location, try to find a location, especially with your first restaurant, that is easier to build. And it's better that you maybe have a consultant with you before you sign off anything, so you can get their recommendation. But at some point, so once you found the place, get a consultant or a professional architect engineer involved. Once you have that, now go look for the GC, share your information with them, tell them what exactly you want, and always get 3 bids minimum, I would say. I always recommend our clients, even their
bids are quotes, as well. Just so you know, if you don't know what these words are, bids are quotes, or estimates.
I always say, right, unless we've been dealing with a client for years and years, and they're just kind of trust us fully, sure. And even then, I would say, hey, sure. Sometimes, we have recommended our clients, you should get a bid from other contractor, just so you know that, what you're getting and what you're not. I don't want to have a trust issue with our clients saying, hey, we trusted you and you were the only one and that we got a bid, and now all of a sudden your prices, are too high. It's always good to get another bid, and even you're set with your GC, the one you want to go with, it's always good to get another quote, another estimate, so you can see and you can compare it. And you can see, okay, well, yeah, their price is low, but their schedule is really bad. Doesn't work for me. So I'll go for the other guy that is maybe a little bit higher, but their schedule is better, or many other things, right? Maybe price and schedule are both something that you need. And then you are looking for quality as well. So you're like, okay, this contractor is the highest because they have the best schedule. Their cost is high, but their quality is amazing, and I can't jeopardize my reputation on the quality. So I need a good quality, and that's why I'm going to hire that GC. So it's good to have that opinion, because one GC may bid it, even though you give them same information, but based on the timeline or the quality, their price could range. So that's another thing you want to do. You want to get, I wouldn't say as many quotes as are possible, because a lot of people think that's the best thing to do as well. I would say a minimum at 3.
Don't waste anyone's time as well.
Yeah,
we actually had a conversation about that earlier.
You don't need that many contractors looking at your job, and you're wasting your time. You may think like, you got all the time in the world, and you're just a business owner. You can just run around. That's not an issue, but you are wasting time by driving back and forth, by engaging yourself with those people, by answering their questions they may have. At the end of the day, it all adds up. Have the right people, select the GCs, interview them, check their experience, see if what they have built, if they've done similar projects, especially for restaurants, is so important. Sometimes people will go to like residential or even some light commercial guys, and they're like, yeah, I got a GC, he's a great office builder, and he's going to do my restaurant. Not a good idea, because office people don't usually deal with some of the things that you have to deal with when you're building restaurants. So unless their crew is set up to do all kind of work, that's a different story, sure. But if they've done something like that, restaurants are so common, and you wouldn't think like, when you go into one and have food and that what really goes into it. But I would say when it comes to like a light commercial building, interior, renovations, that that you do on retail stores and things like that, or new builds, restaurants are the hardest one. Like if you look at different categories of that commercial, like there's office space, there's dentists, there's veterinary clinics, there's medical clinics, there's like the list goes on. All types of business you can think of, right? At the end, they're there are three big categories, right? Like either they're a restaurant, like what play or bar, like a place where you would eat or drink, and or either they're like office kind of setting, like could be a lawyer's office, could be an office, could be, you know, a consultant place, could be an architect's office. And then the other one's retail. Like, and the retail is kind of like
Store.
yeah, and it's kind of mixture, right?
Mall.
Like it's a service place, so it's
Yeah.
like a massage place, is a chiropractor, and you know, acupuncture, like different
A nail salon
Nail
as well. We've done
salon.
a couple of those.
Yeah.
We've done quite a bit.
yeah, barber shop. Like, so there is a service retail, there is you know, or a retail, right? Just like a convenience stores and, you know, places, a grocery store. So there is those. Then there is the office, and then there is the restaurant. There is other categories, like there is a whole bunch, right? There's mechanic shops and auto body shops, and that's another category. But I'm just talking about the three most common that we all like to, you know, we all have experience to go into. Like we go to a restaurant to eat, we'll go to a lawyer's office, or we go to a dentist, right? Or we go to other places, right? And get our nails done and hair and all that. All those places are pretty common that you find it in a typical strip mall, right? You'll find those businesses. And let's say you are one of those business. Restaurants is the hardest to build because they have extra component to them, which is the hood canopy, entire hood ventilation system. So that's in addition to whatever is being done. And, you know, there is more water requirements, and like, you know, there is more faucets and sinks and more health in restaurants. So it is actually like you don't have a health inspector come in and checking an office space that it's good for health or not, because there's no concern.
That's funny.
You have a fire inspector would come and check that, you know, the place is good, and then all the, you know, the door access ways and like other things to look for, the fire sprinkler and fire alarm, like those are in place, but they're not concerned about health and safety of the public. Well, they're worried about the safety of the public, not really health. They're not eating, you know,
No.
there aren't too many things along those lines that could hurt an individual or public, but restaurants are really, you know, tight on those things. So you have to be very careful. Those, even though those, I think they're very high in volume, like every place you'll see restaurants, and there are more and more opening up, and people got different food styles and different things to offer. So it's very common for new entrepreneurs, you know, it's, you know, to open up and come in, and then they get on that. So, but just remember that you are actually trying to get a hardest part of the construction within that category of commercial construction. So if you had an office space, or you had a nail salon or a barber shop, your dealing of entire construction is a lot easier as compared to if you were to build a restaurant. So yeah, so look for the right place, contact the right person for your design, and then get 3 bids for construction. Right, find the right GC, check their experience, and always get 2-3 bids. If you got a bigger project, maybe 5, but I wouldn't say more than that. It's going to become too much hectic for you. We know some huge, like big companies that do this day and night. Like they don't even get that many bids. They know who they want to work with, and they'll just only reach out to them and but they always work. Even they've been working, and this is something I have learned from these bigger companies along the way. So I didn't make it up at home and I'm just proposing it. This is something I've seen, like McDonald's, like what they would do. And they've been doing construction. They're like in construction business. They every day they're building a new place, right? So they have all the guidelines. They know what works, what doesn't work, who to hire, who not to hire. They know all those things. They know way more than that we do. And I'm just telling you.
We talked about this earlier, actually.
Yeah.
In our meeting.
Yeah, what we learned from them. What I learned from them is that they'll always even they have one guy who's been doing their construction for the last 30 years. Whenever there is a new project, they'll get always a new drawing done. They can't use a drawing from one of their store here or store there. No. Yeah, the basic things are the same, and then they'll have their, architect draw it up. But you need the electrical, mechanical guys involved, and everyone every time there's a new drawing that they take, and they'll take that drawing and they'll give it to their contractors. And like I said, even they have a trustworthy, the best guy for the last 30 years, doesn't matter. They'll still go to the other two and say, hey, give us a price, because they want to know, they want to see where the market is at. They want to get a competitive bid. It's just very simple. So, but they won't go to like 50,000 people just because they have all those contacts and they're like, yeah, let's hit everyone and ask them for a price. No, they'll only approach the ones that matter to them for that project, and they'll get a pricing from them.
And they'll also ask the people they trust and they like and they think are capable to do the job.
Yeah,
they're not going to ask a dollar store plumber to come bid on this multi-million-dollar, 50 million square foot mall, right?
Right.
They want people that are strong, and they know that they're strong, and they have the army behind them to back them up.
Yeah.
So some of these big contractors and big owners of projects, they actually have a huge process to finding the right people who they'll let into their bidding list.
Oh, yeah.
And they make them go through a huge boot camp to get there. So
yeah, there is a huge process. So they do all their scanning up front. It's not like they wait for the price and they wait for something and then they'll ask and do their qualification. Now, when McDonald's or like A&W, Burger King, New York Fries, when they're looking for contractors, they don't decide on their contractor that day. They already decided who is going to be able to bid that project like 6 months prior sometimes. And you have to enter into their bidding list. And then there is a qualification that you must have. So you got to have insurance, WCB, or experience, what you've done, what are the similar projects. Like they want everything that you have, related to that project. And they want it all up front. They'll take that information, they'll keep it whenever there is a new place that opens up. That's up for bidding, like the new place that they're going to select, they're going to get into a lease for, then they'll approach those selected contractors. And they'll say, hey, here are our drawings, here's the piece of instructions that how we want it done, and we need you to price it. And they will get competitive prices. And that's why they will know, apples to apple, they can compare it and they can say, okay, this contractor is better because their pricing, because their schedule and all that stuff. So
that's why it's so key to get a drawing.
Yeah.
Just like Adeel was sharing, get that drawing so your general contractor, the builder, will know and they could have an effective quote for you and they're not just guessing.
Drawing is the most important thing, guys. So don't miss on the drawings. If you want construction, get your drawings and don't wait for it. Like a lot of people, hey, I want to start in a week. And yeah, I can write a check tomorrow for construction. Great. Where's your drawing? How are we going to build it? Like and there is a process with the drawings. You have to go to the city. So first, you need to have the architect involved, or drafters involved. They need to draw up everything. Then you need to finalize it. The landlord needs to check it. And then it needs your approval as the owner that it's good with you. That takes a couple of weeks at very minimum. And then you still need to go to the city, get your approval. And without your building permit approval, you cannot start construction. So you're missing a big step in between, which is minimum. I'm talking about city of Calgary, but every place is Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto, like all those places a different timeline. So I'm just referencing here, city of Calgary, you're looking minimum 2 months time by the time everything is done. So you have to be very careful if you want to do things in order and phases. Do your drawings, have that in your hand, then go out, reach out to the contractors and get your prices. And then you can award the project to the person that you like.
So much value here, everyone. So we broke down the how to build a restaurant from design to construction, getting your drawings, finding the right contractor, and the steps to do so. If you want information on a general contractor who's qualified and strong enough to build for you and your business, contact us, pircongroup.com, or you can call me. I'll put my number below. You can call me and text me, and you can reach out. So you can see our shirts. These are, see these shirts, nice, good-looking shirts on us.
I have the mic on the way.
That's what we have here, and that's what our brand looks like. So
Yeah. Pircon Group, black and white. That's who we are. Uh, that's how you would recognize it. Another thing, right? I actually we'll do a podcast and we'll go into details like what are the hoods and what's the science behind it and ecology units and makeup air units and all the rooftop stuff. So we'll go into details for the people for the people that are actually interested finding out, or if that could actually give you some help, especially you're in a business of building, like owning different QSR or restaurants. You want to know more, because then it's like, okay, I know how the food works. Now what can I do? So you want to know more, because it'll help you, educate you, and then you can also make right decisions for your next places that's going to come up. And maybe the next place, like I said, your first initial place, you want, maybe because you're trying a lot of things, you don't know everything. So you want maybe a low cost or less cost area or lease, But for maybe your second, third, and fourth location, you really need to make the mark, and you want to be central, and you want to be with a big landlord, and you want a lot of exposure, right, to the public. That costs money. Like, I can just tell you that when there's more people involved, it's a busy area, and I'm sure it's nicer looking. Just hands down, just know it's going to cost more money. And it's not just only going to cost money in your cosmetic of the building, like your tiles and flooring and ceiling. It will cost you more money doing your hood work. It will cost you more money, anything related to that. You may have to put in an ecology unit now, because like I said, when you're in apartment buildings, that's pretty much 99% of the time you would have to do that. Depending on the building, like there's so many things, I cannot name everything. Like, there's so many different variables that involve. You may not need one. That's why you need that individual. That's why you need that consultant. That's why you need Pircon, right? Someone from our team to be alongside you who can look at it and say, yeah, you should be fine. Your hood costs, range from this to this, and your total construction costs would range from this to this. So you need that opinion. Or or they can tell you, hey, like the hood work is going to be costly. There's a lot of people living, on the second floor. There's so many things to look at, like where are their windows, and if they're going to be smelling your fries and hamburgers all the time, that's an issue in a residential building. You can't have that. So you have to put filtration systems and ecologizers to reduce all the odor. So and those things cost a lot of money. They're not cheap. It could double up your cost in the hood ventilation system. So if you have that, then you may not even go with that location because your budget doesn't allow, and it's just too much work and it's too long. And you may want to go with a more simpler location. But for those entrepreneurs and owners that think, okay, I need to hit the next level. I built 3 places, around the city. Now I need to go central, core, more exposure, more people, more fancier area or building. Then you're looking at a higher cost. So maybe it's good for you to know and understand how it really works, what costs what, and why does it cost that much. So you could enjoy that in our near future podcast. We'll go into very detail of everything. But for now, I think it's been even more than 20 minutes. And
45 minutes.
Oh wow. See, we can talk a lot. So there's a lot. Like, we haven't even touched the surface, but this is what I would say, recommendation, that don't make a mistake finding the right place. Don't make a mistake getting the right professional involved from day one. And don't make a mistake by not having a proper guideline, drawings, set of rules and instructions for your GC. And don't get and involve too many GCs. And just don't try to do it yourself. If this is not for you, if your business is with cooking and building places and provide hospitality to people and make them feel comfortable, work on that. Don't go into another industry and try to win over there.
Yes. So many key steps, so many key pieces of advice, Adeel. Thank you so much for all that. As you could tell, Adeel is not very talkative. He's a very quiet guy.
Right.
But yeah, so he shared so many key things. Adeel has years and decades of experience in construction, years and decades of, actually a couple years of building restaurants, building franchise restaurants. You can see our full list of roster of amazing clients we have served, from Pizza 73 to Subway to Espresso Cafe, and so many more clients that we have so grateful to serve. Go check us out there. You could finally reach out for a quote, pircongroup.com, and the link will be down below just to apply for an estimate. And were there any last words? Anything last thing you want to cover, Adeel?
No, that's it. I think that's it for today. Like I said, we should do another one. And you know what? I want to actually hear from our listeners.
Yeah.
If
Me too.
do put in your comments, do hit the like button, and do put in your comments, like, what do you want to know about construction? Maybe it has restaurants and retail shops, has nothing to do with you. Maybe you're into other stuff. You are building, like, there's so many other places that build. I can't even name all of them. There's so many different types, right? Maybe you want a bowling alley that you want to build. Maybe a shooting range. Do let us know, what is your business and what would you like to know about construction? Maybe you're in daycare, maybe childcare, maybe schooling. There's so many different things that we build. Like I said, I can't name all of them, but whatever you are in and you need some details on that, you want to know, have some questions, do put in the comments. Do let us know, what is it, something that you want us to discuss about, and we'll definitely make that part of our podcast.
Awesome. As we land the plane, everyone, thank you for tuning in to episode 18. Please hit the subscribe button. We want to actually boost our subscribers. Yes. I think we're at 11. So we need to get up there, everyone. Please share this with your buddy.
We need times 1,000, tomorrow.
Share this with someone who owns a franchise. Maybe you know someone. We always have that one friend we see at the birthday party, and he has a business going, and maybe he owns a pizza store. He wants to open a new one. Send this to them, send this podcast to them. And I trust it could be valuable for them and their growth.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Awesome. So thank you for tuning in, everyone. This is the Adeel Pirzada podcast, episode 18. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.